Hidden away in the depths of Salford stands an old historic building, Old Soli Hall. With over 850 years of history preserved in its walls.
Back in the 1960s, I was at school at the time and I was being driven down Old Soli Lane.
During its history, it has been home to 13 generations of the Radcliffe dynasty and has been occupied by numerous owners. It has also served as a clergy training school, an artist studio, a working men's club, and now a museum, which has encapsulated centuries of the hall's history.
Just discovered this gem, Tudor Hall, in the middle of Salford, not far from the docks. Just amazing to see such a contrast, really.
However, after 850 years of service, the signs of ageing and decay were all too evident, and Old Soli Hall underwent a vast restoration project to save the hall's future.
Working on the restoration project, so I had two aspects: designing the ground, plus photographing the whole project, which was a 2-year project. It was all scaffolded. The whole building was covered in sheeting and scaffolding. I was privileged to be able to go anywhere at any time whilst the construction was taking place. I spent 2 years, well over 2 years, taking photos every fortnight at the hall, meeting the craftsmen. They weren't just an ordinary contractor, it was a specialist firm. It was like a big family in a way. The craftsmen working on the restoration. You had a roofer that was his specialist. You had carpenters. Well, the carpenters were father and son, so it was quite an effective team. A lot of work was carried out on the ceiling, so you could get right up to the ceiling. The craftsmen, the plasterers and so on. That meant that I could get up and photograph them plastering the walls, the ceiling and repairing. In the main, they were using old techniques. I mean, there's a bit of modern machinery, but at the end of the day, carving wood was chisel and hammer. Re-roofing the stone slabs which were removed, cleaned and put back in quite a different way to what most modern houses are built now. And in the Great Chamber there was a mural on one of the beams that was restored, but it was painted on tissue paper that was applied to the beam, so it wasn't actually taking damaging or taking away the original artwork. So one side of the beam you can see the faded original, on the other side you can see the interpretation of how it would have looked on the day. I think the hall had been, I wouldn't say neglected, but it had perhaps declined a little bit over the past 2 or 3 decades. I think new life was breathed into the hall. Today I think it's probably in its best condition that it's ever been in. I'm hoping that my documentation is just one part of the whole story of the history of the hall.
The restoration project concluded in 2011, including a date plaque engraved into the building to memorialise this vital and impressive project. Old Soli Hall opened back up as a museum, bigger and better than before, and secured the future of Old Soli Hall.
And hopefully restored for the next, I was going to say few decades, but maybe a few centuries.